established and successful products from competitors.
Yeah, they have an issue with to justify to their shareholders having a certain number of servers to crawl the web is really hard, especially when they don't have the user base. I'm not sure if you caught the very highly cited post by a person who used to work for Bing, and he really painted a nasty picture of what was happening inside. All the managers were basically leaving the project. You probably don't see much PR about Bing anymore. You don't see. I don't see TV adverts about it. That's for sure. And what actually happens is it's just full of managers, not engineers and marketing stuff. It's not really working so much as a search engine. And of course, as we recently found out, and Google was helping people see that with proof, Microsoft is basically just scraping Google results too. So they basically use the Google optimized knowledge of what to display to people to refine. It doesn't actually do much search. It doesn't actually do much indexing. It just copies from based on people's usage of the internet. It actually looks at what they click on the Google search pages, and they kind of grab a shot of what was happening. So they basically rely on Google to do Bing now, and I think that the maps too. Do they brand this as a part of Bing now? The maps and the.
I was under the impression that it was part of Bing, as is Street View is part of Google. The relationship.
Yeah, I think it's just the merger of, because they have a very weak brand. I know with my friends when they want to access a Street View. Actually, a friend of mine was also using Bing for whatever reason. He was just trying to see both. But lots of people, they just go to Google Street. That's like a very well-known kind of thing that you see your friends use, and you use that as well. Microsoft really struggles to market the. What is it even called? It's got some name to it.
Yeah, it's called Streetwise. Streetside.
Yeah, did you hear about this name before? Did you hear about? Would you search for this type of thing, or there is no brand recognition for it?
No.
So they try to merge, they try to fuse together things that have nothing to do with each other. Things like a search engine and something that basically takes photographs of, like, streets and stuff and allows you to troll around. And also, the reason I know it's associated recently with Bing is, do you remember this thing called Silverlight? Which was supposed to be the great thing that would destroy and kill Adobe and stuff. They use the Street View thing, or I think it was a Street View. Maybe it was I think it was just not Street View. Maybe it was just the maps. It used to rely on Silverlight. It used to do that by default, and maybe it was the Street View thing. And they had to change that. They had to drop that. And to go to like Ajax or whatever, probably not Ajax in this case, but just using some JavaScript in some ways to do the things instead of using Silverlight. And they were then trying to hide the fact that they dumped Silverlight. They said, oh, you can still use the old thing if you want to, if you go to advanced something. So it was more like legacy. So that kind of showed you they had second thoughts about how accessible they made that. I think if people go to the site to do the Street View thing, and they go to the Microsoft site, and let's say that's the average user who never really had a reason to install Silverlight, and I don't think many people have installed it, and you just get said, go get this plugin, probably will just go to Google Street and kind of say, well, to hell with that, I'm not coming back to this thing anymore. So they try to make things more accessible at the expense of trying to push forcibly people to download their plugins, their proprietary plugins, to access their vision of their street. So here again you have these, as you say, it's just a poorly executed imitation of Google. There are lots of examples like that.
Well, Silverlight, I think you mentioning it now is the first time we've mentioned it in quite a few episodes. It's one of those things that virtually completely slips out of your mind. The only time I see any reference to it is if I'm following up a Microsoft press release or something, and they haven't.
Yeah, I started to watch Microsoft headlines very closely in 2008, and every week the procedure I have, maybe some people will be curious, is I accumulate news for about a week. Okay, so I have at the end of the week, let's say about not 5,000, less than that. I have thousands of headlines, and then I have a list of keywords that I reduce things by the headline. So I'm actually seeing, I have before me a subset of the past week based on topic, and it's only my RSS feed, and actually the RSS feed is the email client. So I can search by topic. And usually the first thing I would look at is what is the volume of this thing. And I used to have one for Silverlight. And in previous things, it would be like maybe 10 or 20, this company had picked up Silverlight, and, this company supports it. And towards the end, in 2010, I said to people, I'm just not going to follow Microsoft anymore because it's just a waste of time, because there is barely any news worth covering about them, and that's just the truth. Except for a few things that we always can find anywhere else in other sites. And anyway, the volume there of Silverlight was just like close to zero. Like you would have a whole week and it wouldn't be mentioned. And then I had to go around and just check things to see if Microsoft is even trying to push some press release or some promotion or marketing, but no, we barely had anything. And then, of course, came the news about them only using the strategy of Silverlight in like mobile devices or whatever. And we know that Microsoft's mobile devices really picked up now. Really very aggressive with a phone. Everyone's phones run Silverlight.
Well, talking of which, just very quickly, I saw a Windows 7 advert on the television the other day.
Yeah.
I can't remember what station it was, and I wouldn't even say the station to advocate it if I did. But what was very interesting, I'm quite sure, and somebody please correct me if I'm wrong here, but on the bottom of the screen on the Windows Phone 7 advert was the words simulated screens. So the advert that was showing these fancy new features and whatever it was trying to show of Windows Phone 7, the mind boggles. It appears that the screens were completely simulated, which was, I know obviously that happens in a lot of the paper press in the adverts for technology and for computing equipment, but I didn't realise that Microsoft would be doing it for their phone as well. Of course, I was going to say, please somebody correct me if I'm wrong, because it just flashed up on the screen very quickly and I might have misread it, but I'm quite sure it did say simulated screens at the bottom.
I may have seen the same one because we're in the same country. The one I know about, and I see repeatedly on TV now, is one where it's kind of power in groups, where they show you lots and lots of phones connected, like it's some sort of a snake.
All right.
Okay, and it kind of twirls around. It doesn't show you one phone. They always show like 10 phones connected, like they're supposed to be like some sort of a tablet or something. And they then try to group the phone product with Office and Xbox. So I mentioned this in the previous show. They try to basically promote the phone based on brands that have nothing to do with it. And I just thought this is just a way of saying, well, Windows Phone, Office, Xbox, and like Xbox and a phone, yeah. And it just shows how weak it is, because I don't think Android and I don't think even BlackBerry has to sell it to you based on these traits. Prior to it, there was an advert. I think it was for Windows Mobile 6.5, also on TV. And the advert, you've probably seen that. Maybe lots of people have seen that. It's basically all kinds of dancing dolls of shapes like Facebook and Twitter and all kinds of things kind of bouncing around.
No, I think I see. You're painting a marvellous picture here, but no, I didn't see that one.
And you kind of look at this and you kind of think, well, what's this advert for? Because they try to associate themselves with services like Facebook and Twitter, so they have all these really corny characters there. Bouncing around, and then they'll tell you, oh, with this phone you can use these services. Well, of course, it's a web-based service. I mean, sure, you can have the APIs and run some application for it. But this shows you they sit down, okay, so they really know what to tell people, to sell to them. And they must be thinking, well, people use Windows on their computers, and we're not sure they actually like that or enjoy the experience, and we don't actually sell them any similar experience in the phone because they've tried that. They used to try the start buttons on the phone. It's crazy, you don't want to go around, menus and start buttons to just open something like to make a phone call. So they had to change that. They went through so many iterations of changing the GUIs in phones now. I think that's just really confusing to a person who wants to use a Windows phone. It just changes there all the time because they're not sure what the hell they're doing. Now they just try to imitate the Palm OS /Newton /iPhone thing where you have all the big icons and you kind of scroll down and move things aside and move them up and down and try to choose the applications. Well, what they do now is they sit down and they think, well, how do we sell this thing? How do we tell people this is the phone you want? It's not an iPhone. It's not a status symbol. It's not an Android phone, so it doesn't have any well, it is a trademark. It doesn't have the brand that Google has basically fostered over the years. So what we need to do is to tell people, when you buy this phone, you buy Xbox, you buy Office, you buy Twitter, you buy Facebook. But these things have nothing to